Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about a program called Geogebra. You can access this program just by going to geogebra.org, like I highlighted up top here. When you first go to the website, this is what you will see. So a few buttons up top, a few buttons in the middle here. If you scroll up and down, just got some stuff to read. I'm only going to be talking about some of the basics here. I'm not going to. GeoGebra does a lot, and if I was going to do a program on or a video on everything it could do, the video would probably be several hours long, and I don't really have time to make that. I'm not sure you'd want to sit through and listen to all that for that long, but I will definitely give you the stuff needed to get started with GeoGebra, and then from there you can definitely look into more of the advanced or more specific things that you would be interested in. Now, one of the things that I do want to point out that it exists, however, I'm not going to do much with it, is this materials button right here. So if you just click on that, and it will take you to another page that looks like this. So this is all stuff that has actually been created by users that you can use yourself. So if you look right here on this search feature, it says search our 779,603 free and interactive materials. And now that's actually constantly getting added to. I looked at this, a few minutes ago, and it was actually 779,601. So just in those last few minutes, 2 things have actually been added. So this is constantly being added to. You can create something yourself to add to it, which I think is a great feature. Just some things to highlight right here. Again, I'm not going to go into this too much, but there's a tangram puzzle on here. Looks like there's some stuff with work energy, so some physics stuff, but a lot of cool, interesting stuff that could be very useful for any teachers. So let me just go back to that home screen. What I'm going to go more into is, like I said, more of the basic stuff. So if you click on this middle button here, where it says GeoGebra Math Apps, it will bring you to this screen. Now, on this screen, you see they give you like a coordinate grid. There's some space to write on the left, some buttons on the bottom here, just numbers, and some other mathematical symbols or functions, and this stuff on the right-hand side. Now, if I just click, just left-click anywhere, that stuff will all go away, which is actually what I want. If you want to move around the grid, so maybe you want the origin to be in center, you just click on this little button, looks like a few sets of arrows, and select Move Graphics View, and then you can just click and drag to get it more in the center. I'll just leave it there for now. And then you can re-click on this arrow, the standard cursor icon, and that will just bring you back to your regular cursor. Now, what I'm going to start with is just the super basics. And what is more basic in graphing than plotting a point? So if you click on this button here, where it looks like a dot that's labeled A, it gives you a bunch of selections. And actually all the buttons work like that, where each is like a little section, and there's more options within each section. Now all I'm going to start with is just a simple point. So once I have my point selected, I can choose anywhere on this coordinate grid to place my point. So, I don't know, why not the point 1, 1? Something simple. I would just select there, and now I have point A at 1, 1, which you can see on the left. Now, the other way you can do this is, let's say you wanted to just put the point somewhere. So, if you open a set of parentheses just using your keyboard, you can then type in any point you want. So, let's say the point 4, 0, and I just enter that in and hit Enter. And now I have point B, and the points will just go alphabetically, so if I do another point, that would be point C, and so on and so forth. So now that I have 2 points, what I want to look at is a line. So once you have those 2 points, you can select the line tool, select those. If you click it the first time on A, as you can see, it gives you a line that you can move around and select that second point. I will select B, and now it actually gives me the equation for that line, which is actually pretty cool. And if you right-click on this box, you can actually change the form and how you want it. You can change some things like that. So like I just changed it into slope-intercept form, which is what most students would probably be used to seeing. But yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff. This line doesn't really work out so nicely with the numbers, but very cool feature that you can use. So just real quickly, I'm going to go back to that pointer, and I'm actually going to delete these points that I created in the line for now. And I'm going to show you that even if you don't have those 2 points, let's say I had a line and I knew I wanted its y-intercept to be 1, and I don't know, maybe I wanted it to have a slope of 2, then I can just do that, and it will give me the equation. Now it doesn't default to the y equals mx plus b form, but like I said, you can just right click and then click on that, and that will change it. So you have the line y equals 2x plus 1. So we have that line. This is a super basic way you can do it, but it's definitely pretty cool, and I really like it. One of the things that I want to highlight is, and I think this is a great way to use GeoGebra to actually teach a lesson, as I just delete those points, is you can use something called sliders. And what the sliders will let you do is that they will let you actually move things around, and will let you kind of play around with things to see how changing the y-intercept or changing the slope, what that can do. So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to enter in the equation using my input y equals mx plus b. So no numbers, just all the variables in there, and hit enter. Now it's going to give me this prompt. So it's asking, does it want to create sliders for the variables b and m? And that's what I want. So I'm going to select create sliders, and now it gives me this. So now I have the line y equals x plus 1. It just defaults there. So it's defaulting with my m being at 1 and my b being at 1. So now let's say you're introducing this topics and you want to show students what happens if I change the y-intercept. What happens if I change that y-intercept to 0? They can see that that whole line just shifted downward. It's like I just took it and pushed it down. What happens if I increase the y-intercept? Maybe bring it up to, I don't know, let's say 3. So that's like a pretty interesting thing that I think you can do with this. I'm just going to set my y-intercept back to 1. And you actually can type it in here. I'm just using the mouse to do it, but you can just type it in as well. So to show that, let's say I wanted the y-intercept to be 2. I would just backspace, enter, hit 2, and then click enter, and then it just jumps, which is a little bit easier to do if you have a specific number in mind you want. And just like I did with the y-intercept, you can do that with the slope as well, where I can slide the slope and see what happens, where, you know, make it into a negative number. Again, I'm just going to leave it at 1 for now. I think that is one of the really most useful things, though, in just highlighting how you can show what things can do. You know, what you can do, like if you change the slope of a line, what's going to happen to it? If you change the y-intercept, what's going to happen to it? And if you notice, it gives you the equation right on the bottom here. So if I change my slope to 1.8, let's say, that changes it down here. And if I want to change my y-intercept to negative 1.8, then it will also change it on that equation. So they can see how it actually affects the equation as well. So that was the first thing I wanted to show off. Now, the next thing I'm going to show off is something that's a little bit more in-depth, maybe. It's a little bit more in-depth. It's just using these sliders again, but with a little bit more advanced of an equation. So I'm just going to delete all this stuff that I have because we don't really need that for what we're going to do now. So now I just have this blank graph again. And now what I'm going to enter in is actually something that's a little bit, like I said, a little bit more advanced. So let's say I want to use a function, or let's say f of x is equal to, let's say I want a cubic function. So I will have a x to the, and then if you go down here, that will give you a superscript, which will let you make x cubed. And then you can just click on that again to bring you down. Oh, excuse me, actually, what you want to do is backspace there, and then just move over, and just click that x again. That will bring you back down. So you have ax cubed plus b, and then I'm going to do x squared. It's the same idea. And then if I just, sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. Bx squared. And then plus cx to give myself a function here. And this will also allow me to create the sliders that I was talking about. Just with a cubic function. So I'll hit enter. If you get that, please check your input. That means something is just a little bit off in what I wrote. So let me check that. Let's see, y equals ax cubed plus, do I have any extra spaces in there? Looks like I might. Yeah, you just have to double check and make sure there's no like extra spaces in there, because that throws it off. It doesn't like that. Should be good now. Let's see if I hit enter. Yep, there we go. So now it's asking me if I'd like to create any the sliders for A, B, and C, which I do. So now I've got a cubic function, and now I can change what happens if I change the value of A. What happens if I change it for B? Which is just really cool. You can just see visibly the graph. And I don't know, I think, totally personally, I think it's a little bit more exciting to see with a cubic what happens, what changes. And there's a lot of options you can go into and stuff like that. And once again, it will change it in the equation down here as you change things. And I think that's just a really, really cool, interesting way to use GeoGebra. You can change things to be dotted, change colors of things. So like if I go here, if I select on the equation, and I change that color to blue, it can change the color to, oops, sorry, I didn't have the right thing selected here. And actually this little button here will deselect it if you want to, for some reason, not show it. So you can rename things, object properties. If I click on that, that's actually where I can change the color. So right now it's green, maybe I want it to be red or blue. So you can do it all there. You can change the thickness of the line under style, make it a little bit easier to see, which that's actually useful if you're on a smartboard. The kids sometimes with the standard line thickness, the kids in the back, it might be hard to see, so that's useful. But yeah, this is just some basic things. You can do the same thing with a parabola as well. I just chose to go to a cubic, so I showed you a linear function as well as a cubic. But it works for parabolas. It works for really anything you'd want. Quartic functions, stuff like that. But it is very, very useful, very, very cool. Now, one of the other things that I want to show you is how you can do some constructions, actually. So I'm just going to delete everything real quick. And I'm actually going to get rid of the grid. You can totally do this with the grid on. I'm just not going to. I don't really need to. So you can remove that by, I just right-click anywhere on here. And you can deselect the axes. And you can deselect the grid. So now you just have a plain white page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show how you can actually construct a square using circles. This is a cool thing that you can show students that I think they'd really enjoy. So the way we're going to construct this square is I'm going to start by just making a line segment. So if I go to this button right here and I select segment, I'm just going to make a little segment somewhere in the middle. Not too big. A little horizontal segment. AB. It gives me. And it gives me the points, but I'm not really too worried about that right now. Now, what I'm going to start by doing is select this tool. And I'm going to select circle with center through point. So I'm going to have that selected. I'm now going to click and drag. So I'm clicking and dragging on A. And I'm going to bring it all the way to B. There we go. So now I have circle AB. It gives me the equation of that circle, which is actually pretty cool. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a perpendicular line through A. Now, perpendicular to that segment, I should say. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to select this button right here and select perpendicular line. And it actually tells you on the bottom here what you need to do. You need to select a point and a perpendicular line. So I'm going to select A, and I'm going to select that line. That's the line I want it to be perpendicular to. And now I have that. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a point, an intersection, actually, between that perpendicular line I just made and the circle. So if I select intersect, and if you notice, it's kind of subtle, it might be hard to see, but do you notice how the line or the circle are highlighting? I want to get the intersection of that line and that circle, so I want them both to be highlighted, and then I'll just click, and it will give me the line C, which is the intersection of those 2 points, so it'll be exactly what you were looking for. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of repeat the same process, but using point B as the center of my circle. And I'm going to bring that out to A. Now I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to create that perpendicular line. So I'm going to select the point B, select the line. Now I've got that perpendicular line, and I want to create that intersection between the line and the circle. So now I have points C and D. And now if I just connect using the segment tool, C to D, I've got a square. It's giving me the square A, B, C, D. And that's a pretty cool little feature. I mean, it's cool that you can do these constructions and just have it right there for you. I think that's really, really cool and useful. And if you included the grid, you could actually show them that all the sides are equal if you set it up so that it fits nicely on nice integer points there. But this is just an example of one of the constructions you can pretty easily show on GeoGebra. So I'm just going to use this back tool, and I'm just going to clear everything out. You can definitely try that on your own. Ooh, don't want the grid. And I'm going to show one other construction before I actually wrap things up here. Or maybe actually one or two other things. The next construction I'm going to show is how you can make an inscribed triangle. So what you're going to do, and you can actually, this is actually another pretty easily constructed one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by selecting this tool here. This is called the polygon tool. And I'm going to select polygon. And I'm just going to create a triangle. So that it'll give, once you click somewhere, that'll give you the first point. Then it'll give you this line. You don't have to drag or anything. You just click once. And now you're going to select the 3 vertices for your triangle. I don't know, let's go with something that looks like that. That works. And then you just go back to A to finish it. So I have my triangle ABC. And now what I'm going to do, excuse me, is I'm going to use the perpendicular bisector tool. So that's under the same place where the perpendicular line was. I'm going to select perpendicular bisegment. And now it actually, excuse me, I said perpendicular bisegment, perpendicular bisector. And now, again, it shows you right down here what you need to do. So it's going to tell me to select 2 points and 1 segment. So let's say I select point A and point C. And I actually didn't even need to select the segment there. I already knew what it would be. And that gives me a perpendicular bisector. And I'm going to do that for all of these. And then when I do that, it's actually going to give me exactly what I need here. Everything I need to draw this. So now I'm going to do the perpendicular bisector of this segment. So I'll do B and C. And then if I do the same thing for A and B, now it's actually given me a point. It's given me this point here where those 3 perpendicular bisectors intersect. So I'm going to select intersect again, and I want it to be the point where all 3 of those are highlighted. So right there. Oop, did it create a point? I don't think it did. Hang on. Sorry, I don't know why that's not creating a point. Let's see. If I just create a point there we go. Now I have a point, H. And now, if I want that to create the circle to go along with this, I would just select the circle tool, make H my center, and bring it out to any of these points. It actually doesn't matter which one. And then there you go. You now have that construction as well, which is really, really cool. Like I said, these are really just the basics of GeoGebra. There's so much more you can do. I don't want to go too deep into this, otherwise this video will be too long. But there's so much you can do. There are tools that I didn't even touch. Oop, went back too far. Where you can create angles. You can have reflections, reflecting around a line, around a point, about a circle. translating by a vector, dilations. So there's so much you can do. Ellipses, parabolas. It's really, really cool, all the stuff you can do here. But yeah, you can find extremums and roots. It's very, very useful. Midpoints. But yeah, that was just my little introduction to GeoGebra. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, feel free. You can reach out to me. I think Dr. Witten might send this out to the class if she does so choose so. My email is tgris1@pride.hofstra.edu. So if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I have no problems with that. Hopefully I can answer you back as soon as I can. And hopefully you learned something. So thanks for watching this, and enjoy.